gee, welcome back to the WB. Welcome back to the Weeble. Today is Saturday, April 2nd, 2044. And, I'm messing around, dinking around into my farm system, checking out the minor leagues. I just got my April 1st monthly progression player development report from Howard. And just a day or so before that, I got my March 1st progression report. So that had me looking and thinking about progression quite a bit. And I wanted to share. I really just turned the mic on because I'm thinking about how I evaluate prospects and when I decide when to release them, how I decide when to release them. I think I hold on to prospects a little bit longer than most people. In fact, I think I have gradually gotten to where I hold on to prospects longer. And here's the things that I use to evaluate a prospect, evaluate when or if I'm going to release them. Here's a guy, Jose Arenas. He's a middle reliever in our AA Novaya Maca Arrow organization. He's age 19. His stuff is 50 out of 50, movement 40 out of 40, and control 35 out of 40, according to Super Mario 9000, my scout, Mauro Ortiz. And I use Super Mario 9000 and Howard interchangeably. Howard is supposed to be my scout, but it's still officially Mauro Ortiz. And I'm just going with that whole storyline thing, where my owner, sets up the scout, the computers as a scout, does that computerized scouting. It's just, just having fun with that. So I look at this, and on the surface, you'd go release this guy. Transaction release, right? Without really too much of a second glance. And that's what I used to do. But now I do two things. I go through a 3-step check first. Age. How old is this cat? If he's 24, yeah, go ahead and release him. Pull the ripcord. But this guy's 19, so I'll hold on to him a little bit. So age is the first check. The second check is ceiling. What are his ceilings at? And these are not WBL quality ceilings, so he would fail that check. 50, 40, 40 is not going to cut it in the Weeble. The third check is delta. Has he achieved what's the delta between his current rating and the ceiling? And in this case, there's not much delta left, except there's a little bit of delta. There's a 1-tick delta in control. He's 35 out of 40. So if I trust my scouting data, and that's a big question, if I trust my scouting data, then this guy fails 2 out of the 3 checks: the ceiling, the C, and the D. The ceiling and the control, the ceiling and the delta are sort of lock him out. But the age, I'm going to keep him around for at least part of the summer because of his age, and we're going to watch him close the delta on control and see if maybe he busts out. If he inches forward in one of these other categories, we may keep him. I've got a lot more patience for a 19-year-old than I do for a 24-year-old. One of the things that makes me kind of doubt the scout data too, sanity check the scout data, the stuff rating, 50. Well, Howard says he's got a 55 ceiling on his fastball. Well, 55 ceiling on a fastball, he's pitching 92 miles an hour. 50 stuff rating may not be the whole story there. So I tend to sort of rely on the top rated pitch in terms of stuff. So yeah, so that's this guy. Let's move forward. Entwistle. He's another 19-year-old. His delta on his stuff and movement is pretty much collapsed. So he sort of fails the delta check. However, the ceiling, he's got a 60 rated fastball, a 50 rated sinker, great stamina, great defense. His ceiling on control is not Weeble quality, and his ceiling on movement is not normally Weeble quality. He's not going to keep enough balls in the ballpark with a 40 movement. And yet you come down and sanity check his data. He's made 4 game appearances. He's pitched for 5.0 innings. So he's recorded 15 outs in single A ball. He's given up no walks, 0 walks, and he's given up 0 home runs. Now, 15 outs. I see he also faced 6 batters. Looks like, I'm guessing he's faced 21 batters. And he's recorded positive WAR. So he's been a bit of an asset to his team, even with a tiny sample rate. And, you know, the 0 walks out of 21 batters, that's not a 20 control rating. That's better, much better. And 0 home runs out of 21 batters, that might be much better than a 40 movement. So there are some things that make me question the scouting data about this guy. The actual performance, you know, in this case, Trump's scouting data. So, and he's 19. So I found him in free agency, and it's totally understandable that you'd cut this guy, but I gave him a little bit more of a look, and I'll be a little bit more patient with him this time around. Vactorvelt is a random, is a sort of an outlying case. Let's look at this guy's history right quick. He has had devastating injuries. This kid, Tommy John surgery in 2037, a torn labrum 2039, and Tommy John surgery again last year in 2043. Before that, he was a top 100 prospect. Even after his first 2 devastating injuries, he came back as the number 57 prospect in the WBL. I was an idiot. I let him go. I didn't release him, but I let him go to minor league free agency and did not re-up him. Anyway, Helsingborg picked him up, and he destroyed his arm while with Helsingborg, and now he's back. And the only effect he's had so far is his control rating has dropped. His ceiling and his rating have dropped a tick, but I'm curious to see how he comes back and does. Anyway, he's 26. He's an outlier. We'll come back to him later. Virgil Langenkamp. Now, this guy fails all 3 of the ACD gates. He's 25 years old, so his age means he's probably not going to progress a whole lot. His ceilings, 50 stuff, 45 movement, 45 control, mean he's not going to be WBL quality. And his delta, he's only got 1 delta left, and that's a 1-tick delta in movement. He's currently a 40 movement, trending to 45. So on surface, he fails the ACD check completely. However, Howard thinks he has a higher rating of 55 potential in fastball and in changeup, and a 1-tick upgrade as well coming in his knuckle curve. He pitches his fastball at 91 to 93 miles an hour. So I think his stuff rating is due for a scouting boost. So there's that. Secondly, he picked up a knuckle curve this past offseason. In fact, within the past 2 months, he added a knuckle curve. His velocity improved to 91 miles an hour. And so here's a guy that's trending up. Now, 25, trending up, yeah, because he came into the league last October as a free agent from an independent league. So he's a brand new addition to Weeble free agent market and has not had any history in the market. And so I snagged him up to a minor league contract. So even though this guy fails my ACD gates, I cut him some slack. You know, so there's another example. Here's a guy though, John Calvo Canaveses. He's 24. He has reached, according to Howard, his maximum potential on stuff, 45 out of 45. Movement, 45 out of 45, and control is 40 out of 45. So pretty much, he has, he's sort of reached this guy has pretty much reached his ceiling. Although, again, his fastball might have another tick left in it. And he does pitch fast enough at 91 miles an hour. He's got decent stamina, decent defense. He's got the intangibles going for him. He's a little bit on the slow side in terms of intelligence, but and he's gotten some reps. Last year, he got 59 appearances as a reliever, mostly as a reliever in our minor league system in Class A ball. Got 100 innings, and his numbers weren't terrible, but they weren't very good. A 1.58 whip, basically a 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, 43 walks in 100 innings. Not real great, Yeah, it's about a 4.0 walk per 9 inning. 5.22 ERA. Not a great whip, and not a great ERA. But I'm reluctant to pull the trigger. This is probably the one guy I'd pull the trigger and let go. But he's got a few other things working for him. He's got 5 pitches, including a knuckle curve. His first few appearances out of college in Belgorod, or Class A, Single A system, he only had 8 innings, but his pitching was outstanding. So there's a question that I have whether I push this kid up too quickly out of Single A. And I know how it would have happened. I think I know how it would have happened. I think the system did it before I took control back from the AI. So this guy probably should have had another year in Single A, but I probably will cut him some slack. Another thing he's got going in his favor is we actually drafted him in round 15 in 2042, and I'm always kind of pulling for the late round guys. So, but anyway, this is a prime candidate for my ACD type system ACD plus stats, ACDS, I guess you would say, age, ceiling, delta, and stats. Do the stats support these ratings? They probably do if this winds up being a typical year last year in AA ball. We'll see. If he shows improvement in AA, I'll be hard pressed to let him go. But he is right now the guy on the chopping block. Augusto Chavez, he does not fail the ACD test for me, even though he's 24. His control rating looks to be he might max out at a 55 control, and so I'd like to keep him around, wait for him to max that control out, maybe keep him another year, see if he can grow into that control rating, and along the way, is he going to grow into anything else, his stuff and his movement. You can see he's had many years in my system. Our data goes back to 2040, and in fact, he came into our system in 2038. Now, here's another thing to look at. Pardon me. I just came in from taking a walk outside, and I've got sniffles like crazy. My chiropractor says it's mold. It might be. We've had some rain lately. Look at this guy, how he came into the league, and he continually grew his ceiling in stuff, movement, and control. Something is always busting forth with this guy. So he gets a little bit of a, little bit of slop with that too. Really like to see a guy who keeps busting out of his ceilings. So if he ends up with what OSA thinks he's going to have, a 55 stuff, a 50 movement, and a 65 control, he could be a fringe. He could be in somebody's bullpen before it's all said and done. So anyway, he's only had one minor injury, a 1 week injury for a sprained ankle. So everything looks, decent with this guy. His ERA plus has been flirting with 100, but never above it. And his WAR rating has always been positive. You can see in 2040, he spent the year 51 games in single A. His whip 1.76. ERA 5.51. The next year, he started out as a starter. That was a bullpen year. The next year, he was a starter in single A, and his whip was about the same. His ERA was a little bit worse. Walks per 9 inning about the same. Home runs per 9 inning about the same. By the way, those 2 years in single A, home run less than 1.0 home runs per 9 inning. Always a good stat to look at, even though it's single A. And strikeouts per 9 inning, more than walks per 9 inning. Always a good thing. And in 2041, he got promoted to Double A, and he did pretty much comparably in Double A. He made 37 relief appearances in Double A. His whip 1.82, ERA 5.20. None of those are great numbers, but decent. 2042, he started off again in single A. So this is a guy who started 3 years in single A, and in mid-2042, he was promoted to Double A, where he again started some games. And in 2042, his whip dropped significantly down to 1.63, and his ERA was 4.40. So he made some growth in 2042. And in 2043, he spent the entire year making 65 relief appearances, 74 innings in Double A ball, with a 1.55 whip and a 4.94 ERA, 11 saves. 1.55 whip. This is making some progress from about a 1.7's whip to 1.6's whip to 1.5's whip. Yeah, his home runs he had some taters knocked off of him, but his whip is dropping. So stamina is great. His defense on the mound is pretty good. His velocity is not great, 89 to 91. Probably why his fastball is rated 45. So he's got a little bit of growth left in him, and so we'll give him some time. He's also got 3 ticks of growth remaining, 3 ticks of delta in his slider. So he's not quite pushing the. I guess the thing with this guy, although his age is kind of a strike against him, and his ceilings are more or less a strike, his deltas, he still has room to grow into his deltas. Flores has the makings of a very average WBL quality reliever. Right now he's starting games for us. He's a starting pitcher. In fact, I say that he actually did start a game for Australia. We just picked him up. He did start a game for Australia in the big leagues last year and got knocked out in the 4th inning. Wasn't a pretty sight. I picked this guy up because he's young enough. Maybe he's still got a little bit of delta, and Howard thinks he's got a lot of delta left in that curveball. So we'll see that. He may have a short leash with us too. Somebody may be able to use him in their system. He should really be. If I've got room on AAA, he should probably be on AAA. Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, I just wanted to share quick with you how my sort of ACD system, age, ceiling, and delta. I think all those things are important. I think you have to if you really get immersed in it, if you have time to get immersed in it, you sanity check those against stats. The easy thing to do is to look at the star system. I mean, and that's ideal for people who have a little bit more limited time. My first, first year or so with OOTP, I relied on the stars. But now, when I have time away from the classroom, I look at the other things too. I go a little bit more in detail. And, honestly, I just enjoy, one of my favorite things about the game is just watching these guys kind of grow, like Flores. One of my favorite things in the NCAA football dynasties was recruiting a prospect and watching him grow into his, potential. And, so Flores has got a little bit of delta left, and I'd like to see, I picked him up out of minor league free agency, and I wanted to see if he would, give him some starts in my AA system, which is kind of a demotion. He hasn't been in AA since 2042, 2 years ago, and he did well, very well last time around. But we'll keep him in AA for a few months, work on his confidence, and then move him up to AAA. And maybe keep him in AAA for a little while if I got room for him. So, yeah. Here's another guy, Hugh Thuk, who, age 24, doesn't look like he's got a whole lot of growth left, but the control rating's got a tick of delta. If he were to, maximize out, hit his ceilings here with a 0 delta, and have lousy stats, he'll be a short timer with us. So we picked him up in the early 2042, and he's had a lot of, I guess that's the other thing, he's had a lot of time in our system. He did really well in Belgorod in 2042 with 1.27 whip and 3.62 ERA, 113 ERA plus, really promising. But he seemed to plateau there, and in 2043 in the Waiamaka, our Class AA system, 6.22 ERA and a 1.71 whip. Not so great, man. So, and you can pretty much tell he dropped from a 13.4 K per 9 inning to a 7.0 K per 9 inning. The AA guys are not fooled by his curveball nearly as much. So, so here's a guy who we're going to give him a little while in our AA system. And in fact, if he would be AAA material even if we have room for him up on AAA. So, but he's sort of on the hot seat. He on the bubble, I guess. He's somebody that doesn't have a whole lot of growth potential left, according to our scouts, and so he may be released pretty soon. Glenn Saunders is somebody who has reached his age 23. He has reached all of his projected ceilings, and he may be at the front of the list in terms of the cut list. They're going to depend on how he starts this year off. This will be his 4th year in AA ball, and he has yet to excel in AA. His whip rating has gradually gotten better from 1.85 to 1.65 to 1.51, and his ERA has gradually gotten better, 6.46 to 5.03 to 4.57. But his improvements are happening so slowly that they seem to be happening certainly and progressively, but slowly enough that his age is going to catch up with him. If this kid was 21, he'd have a longer leash, but he may be back in minor league free agency pretty soon. This guy, I think, was with us since he was drafted in 2039 out of our organization. So he's always gotten plenty of, our guys have liked him. They gave him plenty of reps down in Single A. He's always been a starter, and so starting pitcher, lots of starts, at least 20 starts each of the past 4 years, 5 years, including high school. Yeah, so but he may have reached his ceiling and his time may be done, and looks like his ceilings have been kind of reduced here in the past year or two. Yeah. See if I can find an example of another guy. Okay, Grant Spencer. We signed him back last September out of free agency, minor league free agency. Buenos Aires had let him go. They just didn't see any great possibilities with him, and he had spent 3 years in single A ball, and it certainly wasn't a pretty sight. Look at that. He never got better than last year a 1.88 WHIP and 5.58 ERA. Now he had a better year in 2042, but only slightly. And his walks per 9 inning up to 7.4 walks per 9. Not good, you know. And Howard says his control is about a 25. Not good. But, you know, he's 22. So we saw some possibilities with this guy, and we're going to give him a chance. All right, well, that's pretty much, I guess I'm going to put a stopper in this and go ahead and get it uploaded. And I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching.